I have always been interested in biology. I loved dissecting animals. And I know that's not PC. But anyway, when I was in high school, that was what we had to do. And I found it to be fascinating. And so I pursued an art career at UC Berkeley, History of Art and Fine Arts, and then I subsequently did a master's degree in biomedical illustration at Long Beach State. And that was amazing. That's where I dissected human cadavers and was deeply, deeply involved in just understanding anatomy from microscopic to gross anatomy. I think it really did impact my career a lot. And I was planning on being a happy little medical illustrator, which didn't work out because I met some people in film and TV. And one thing led to another, and because of the technical illustration and the medical and all that, I was hired to do some medical illustrations on a Wes Craven picture. Because of my background, I went and became a forensic artist and learned facial reconstruction on skulls of the unknown deceased, and also from decomposing remains. Now this may sound
You're Angela. I just realized that. Go ahead, sorry.
This may sound grim and horrible, but it isn't. It's so interesting, and you know, I just find it to be fascinating.
And did you know before that this was something that people did for a living?
Never. I saw film and TV as that faraway land that other people did, and then because of the technical, I was grabbed up and pretty fast, and so I've been working in this business about 25 years.
And on a typical script, walk us through the steps of from idea to finished with all the science.
We usually jump right in with, okay, well, what condition do we want to find our body in? Again, it's bones, so our body has to be, you know, somewhat down to bone. And you can't keep doing the, oh, animals ate it, or, so immediately you have to start to think of interesting ways that we can get down to bone and interesting conditions we can find the bones in and explain how we got there. And so almost from that minute, again, especially for myself, who this is my first season on the show, that's usually when I start yelling Donna's name very loudly. And I tell her, I'm like, I'm looking to, you know, I want to have a body that's basically been turned into soap in a barrel and only the head and the arm is sticking up. Can I do that? And if I can, what can Brennan be able to tell from the back of the head and the arm about any sort of determination about this person? And Donna will usually draw up an amazing sketch, like some of the ones that she's holding in her hand. She'll draw up an amazing sketch of sort of what I have in mind and be like, is this what you're looking for? And so from that point, we're then working on the story in the writer's room, and every once in a while someone will either send an email or run down to Donna and be like, could you come upstairs, and we're just looking for some psychology the suites could have on X, Y, and Z. And again, Donna will come up. I think it really is weaved in throughout the process. And then we do an outline, which we get notes on from Studio Network. Donna gets a copy of that outline, and we'll start going through it and highlighting stuff like, oh, well, you know what might be really cool is if you did this that way, because that could really help. And then the bones would tell you X, Y, and Z, or, you know, this, it makes sense, but it might not quite work this way, but here's where we can get you what you want. And she'll go through the outline and do that. That way we get to incorporate that into the script so that it's not after we've started pre-production and then she's like, that's not going to happen.
How many scientists, doctors do you think have contributed to bones?
Oh, a lot, yeah. I mean, anything from specific animal bites and attacks to, you know, how to make a bomb, you know, so we cover it all.
So you never think, especially because I started in the sciences, I would never think of like a network of scientists who are working or advising on shows. Do you think the science community is getting more aware of it and getting more involved?
It's always sort of a culture shock for a lot of working professionals in science, because they're not used to amending the truth. So they have to kind of get used to that rhythm or that need, and to be able to meet dramatic need as well as to try to keep it on track technically. It's always a delicate dance.
You mentioned that you find a lot of fans are inspired by Brennan. Do you see that kind of that attention to detail inspiring people to want to learn more?
Absolutely. I think that there's an enormous need for that, actually, just in terms of inspiring young people and in terms of what it means to the general public to understand programs that are funded by the government and why they do what they do. I think that's so important. We actually aid that process to a large degree. We take on social issues.
Absolutely.
And that's a huge part of this show. And so in terms of the science that allows the drama to happen, we try to support that as much as we can.
Our goal is always to educate and entertain. When I start a script and I'm thinking about the idea I want to do, my goal is always like, what new can I teach the world? But the great thing is, you know, a lot of us as writers, we're very active on Twitter with our fans, and it just, especially for me, nothing makes me happier than hear a 14-year-old fan be like, I've decided I want to be a scientist and I'm doing really well in AP science and here's why, and you know, and legitimately following through on it.